Before I deep dive into the controversy regarding the cancellation of chapters of the Mughals from NCERT books, let us first understand what the Mughals mean to us in the popular sense of the word. To the layperson, Mughals means the binary visions of either grandeur or cruelty, represented by figures such as Akbar and Aurangzeb. To many people, Mughals means the magnificence of the Taj Mahal or even the sound and light show one can see at the Red Fort. To millions of people fed on a diet of popular culture, Mughals are synonymous with lip-smacking tandoori Mughlai food or even the age-old popular Hindi film Mughlai with all its attendant grand dialogue Bazi. This is popular culture at its best or worst. Choose whatever side you opt for, and practically no one can have any objection to all this. And if they do, then that lot will be the butt end of jokes and not the consumers of this kind of popular culture. But it is an entirely different matter when the so-called Mughal era becomes prescriptive, reading in school textbooks, and more insidiously their rule is upheld as a paradigm of good governance and a shining example of upholding secular values. Because, ladies and gentlemen, all serious nations on this planet, especially any country that takes pride in its existence and identity, takes its history and the dissemination of that history lesson in schools and colleges very seriously. Because it is this lesson which is, in a certain sense, it is more important than any of the arts or the sciences, because the history lesson shapes the minds of the new generation. And on this very issue, battle lines are drawn in our country. I will argue in this episode the merits of the thinking that it is high time the Mughal era chapters in our history books need to be revised and altered to reflect contemporary reality. But before I do that, a very warm welcome to all viewers of the CAA show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis, and my name is Juggi Bhasin. To watch this video podcast, press the big red subscriber button on your screen. Subscription is, of course, completely free. Now let us first understand who were the Mughals. The Mughals were of Turkish Mongolite descent, and they were invaders first and foremost. We somehow forget this simple fact when we discuss the Mughals. They came in waves as ransackers and plunderers, and even the latter lot, which settled in India, ran a governance of religious intolerance and exploitation of the common man. We need to let these facts sink into our consciousness before we even talk of the Mughals. There was not an iota of benevolence and democratization in their rule, even that of Akbar, who has been idolized by a generation of Marxist historians, filmmakers, and so-called secular idolists as being the consummate perfect king. All that is hogwash. The Mughals were expansionist, ruthless in their rule and treatment of their subjects, and at the same time pleasure seekers, and their wealth was accumulated and skimmed of the earnings of the toiling masses. Studies have been done how the British plundered India and reduced it to an impoverished state of being, resulting in large-scale human tragedies like the Bengal famine. Why have similar studies not been done about the Mughals? Because a generation of people with vested interest in post-independent India have highlighted the Mughal rule, especially the manufactured benevolence of their rule, to serve as a guiding light for future generations. The same set of people have completely ignored what was happening in the south of the country around that time when many Hindu kings held sway. The same set of Marxist historians who have forced down this invented Mughal benevolence down our throats for generations condemn feudalism and landlordism in the same breath. Is there not a contradiction there? Is not feudalism and Mughal rule one and the same thing? If the new government wants to raise iconic Mughal nomenclature with identifiable names from India's rich cultural past, what is so wrong with that? Are we supposed in perpetuity to uphold ransackers, marauders and tyrants as our ideal? There could be 100 reasons why an elite of a bygone era is protesting these cancellations from history books and name changes. But the single most critical reason is that the Mughals worked on the seminal principle of dynastic rule. And wonders of wonders, so does the principal opposition party in this country. And that is why an entire ecosystem of bottom feeders of this party, including journalists, historians and political commentators, are up in arms against the proposed changes. Lastly, there is no such thing as the absolute truth in medieval history. At best, we get an interpretative view of ancient history which almost always mirrors the political realities of contemporary times. Back then in the Nehruvian age, history was distorted to highlight the magnificence of the Mughals because the rulers of that era realized that they could not offer the minority community anything of substance besides some manufactured pride of ancient Mughal Muslim past. The present regime thinks differently. It does not need fiction to hold on to one community. It is gathering examples of ancient Indian Renaissance that will serve as history lessons for the new generation. To the victor, the spoils, they say. That is the only true lesson of history. And on this note, I come to the end of this episode of the CAA Show. I hope you really enjoyed this particular episode. You like our show, do subscribe to us. And on this note, it's goodbye and cheers from my end.